Thank you for joining us in Talking Points today. Our guest is Dr. Nick Ngwanyam. He is an educationist, an entrepreneur, and a politician joining us today. And we're going to be looking at how to have a new Cameroon that will be free from the high level of corruption, embezzlement of public funds, and all the issues that are making life much more difficult, very difficult for Cameroonians, especially the low-income earners and those living below the poverty line. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, and good evening to our listeners. Yes, you want to know why there's so much corruption, hardship, embezzlement in our country. It is but normal if you look at the form of state that we've got, and also you look at our school system. The problem is coming from two areas. We have an issue of bad governance, and that bad governance comes from the form of state, and also those that have been trained to look after our state apparatus. And then the second thing is, as a people, our education for the last 60 years has been a poor type of education, which does not allow us as individuals to generate wealth for our people. Our youth cannot create jobs, and that problem comes from the poor education. So we need to correct these two things, and then we'll be okay. You know, we can have Konak in every house or a gendarme in every house. The corruption will not stop.
Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, tell us why are such issues like corruption, embezzlement of public funds, violence, immorality, insecurity, impunity thriving in Cameroon?
You've seen attendant ills like violence and some other issues in the community. You know, you've got to understand that, you know, the human beings behave in a particular way. You know, if you have studied the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you would see that our most basic needs, the so-called physiological needs, are food, their water, their air, sleep, and then as you go up, you have security, love for each other, ego, self-actualization, and then the transcendental phase. So those basic things, you know, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be a president, a governor, a doctor. It doesn't matter who you are. If you don't have food, you're going to fight. If you don't sleep and have a restful time, you're going to fight. If you are not healthy, you are going to fight. If there's no security for you, you're going to fight. So when people are reacting violently in a community, it means that they cannot meet their basic needs, and that's we have to be able to look for ways and means on providing those basic needs, of helping people to access those basic needs. Otherwise, you cannot stop the violence. And we're training a lot of youths who are not productive, and we're sending them on the field. So to see them violent, as far as I'm concerned, that's just something natural. It's not surprising. So the question we should be asking is, what kind of education should we be giving our children and giving everybody, so that we can get to a place where everyone puts money in their pockets, everyone can create wealth for themselves. As long as we as a nation, we keep selling raw materials and there are no industries and we are not transforming anything, and then we are using the little money that we have to import wheat, rice, and all these things, will ever remain poor. Like I've said before, if you go to our supermarkets, 95% of the goods that are sold in our supermarkets are imported. So we are creating poverty for ourselves, and those supermarkets are not even owned by Cameroonians. So you can see all the money is going away. The other day I visited a Chinese shop and realized that, you know, if we were to train our children very well and buy the industries, more than 60 or 70% of those things that are sold in that shop, we can make them in Cameroon.
Tell us more about the responsibilities of government on one hand, the population on the other hand.
So this calls for us to have a new Cameroon today. We have to have a new Cameroon. There's no question. It's an imperative. We must have a new Cameroon. And we earlier on said that the problems are emanating from a bad from the form of state, which needs to be corrected. The problems are emanating from the governance structure. And when we are talking about governance, you know, 80% of our governance structures, they come from Enam, is the Enam mindset, and there is something wrong with that Enam mindset that ought to be corrected. And you know that the French, from whom we inherited, they have corrected their own Enam and are doing something about it. But our own, you know, we have trained people who just kick people around, and all they do is commandement, maintenance of law and order. But when it comes to creating wealth, they are not so particular about creating wealth. They are not so particular about anything else. They just throw their weight around, and then, you know, but that is not it. You know, 60 years down the line, we as a nation, we are not isolated from the rest of the world. So we could be doing the wrong things here. The rest of the world will be going ahead without us, and so there is need for us to change. So we are saying that there is a responsibility on the part of the government, and then there is a responsibility on the part of the people. But the government has got to take the lead to show people the right things to do. So as we change the form of state, and as we change and get a new government in this country, and that government should have a mindset and the ability to actually solve our problems from the roots. It should be a kind of government that tolerates genuine and inclusive dialogue with everybody. And talking about dialogues, we have a great dialogue that is going to come. There will be a dialogue between Anglophones and the government as far as the Anglophone problem is concerned. That dialogue has to be between Anglophones, all shades of Anglophones, and the government, and it will be the new government, that's not this one. And then the other thing that we have to realize is that there are many other dialogues so that we can have harmony in the nation. The new government must have a dialogue with the Bamileke people, must have a dialogue with the Northerners, must have a dialogue with the Beti and people of the Center South, and must have a dialogue with the Doualas. And it must also have a dialogue with the youths. The youths make up about 70% of our population, and the government needs to get into a new relationship with the youths. The government must also dialogue with the diaspora and get into a new relationship with the diaspora. We need to create a new Cameroon with a new mindset, and it will be about change of our educational system, change of our governance structures. You know, have a government that serves the people. But what we have now is a government that is being served. You know, we should have a government that is accountable to the people. When we get there, the problems of the country will begin to have solutions. But now, you see, if you go back to 2013, the president, His Excellency President Paul Biya, noticed that our government and our administration was suffering from inertia, and people cared more about their personal self than the common good. And you know, there's a lot of lies telling, and all of these things need to be corrected. Already you can begin to see some of the corrections. You know that it was usually people in big places who had access to government money, and they were stealing this money, and all they did as a job was to send motions of support and sing praises to the president. But you see, the president stopped that, and nobody mentions it again. He wants, if you are supporting the president, show him that you are a good servant by serving the people. The president puts you there to serve the people, not to sing praises to him. So you begin to see many of these things begin to change, and the mindset in the country has got to change, and we have to have a new way of doing things. And I think there will be a government of national unity coming, or a transitional government that will look into these things. If we have elections now, it will not solve the problem, but a new government has to be picked, which has a different mindset from what we have now, that would actually look at the problems of the nation and solve them. And if that government comes in place, I tell you, even in 3 months, you'll see a lot of good.
Some political observers, right defenders, like Jang Dinis, national president of the PAP, Barrister Agbo Bala of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, had been calling for an Anglophone president, saying that it is time for an Anglophone president to take over the helm of this country, and that could change a lot. That could be a game changer. But from what you've just said now, we can conclude that if there is an election and even an Anglophone president takes over in the present context, nothing or very little is going to change, and the very problems that we've been crying for over 4 decades today would likely still be there. Now, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, how soon can we have the change, the transformation that you're talking about?
So how soon can this transformation become reality? You know, I think the person who's got to push the button for the plane to take off is His Excellency President Paul Biya himself. When he pushes the button, he'll be the one who will push the button and trigger everything. And that would be as soon as he comes up with a new government that has the capacity and is able to understand and solve problems, you will begin to see solutions. That is where it begins. And from there on, things will just cascade into place, and Cameroon will never be the same again. And I can vouch for you, I can tell you that when this happens, Cameroon is going to be one of the best countries in Africa, the fastest growing. People will find their space, and the diaspora will have a lot of work to do to build our country. And you see, we have to change our educational system so that our children will be able to work and generate wealth and create all those things that we need. And we have the capacity to even create 2 million jobs for youths in this country every 2 years if we know what we are doing. And the new government or the transition government will be able to do that.
What do you think about foreign aid from out of the country to help Cameroon achieve some of these things that you're talking about?
Well, when we're talking about foreign aid is very tricky. What you have to realize is that the white man gave us independence 60 years ago, but he never really wanted to help us. So there are two types of independences. There is the political independence, which is what they gave every African country. Then they held back on a type of independence which is called economic independence. In real terms, economic independence is more important than political independence. So in political independence, they just give you the country and you wear a coat and tie, you drive around, you get saluted by gendarmes, you think you are independent. No, but they hold you by the testicles. And they hold you by the testicles is they hold your economy. As long as they hold your economy down, you'll be a beggar. So if we have a lot of violence and underdevelopment in our country, it's because the economy in Cameroon is not controlled by Cameroonians, it's controlled by foreigners. And so foreigners are great, they can give you great advice, but if you don't have your own brain, they'll all take you for a ride. So what we need to do is we need to sit down as Cameroonians and speak truth to each other. The problem of solving the problems in Cameroon is not about foreigners. The problem is about truth and love. Speak truth to your brother. Look at your brother eyeball to eyeball and speak truth to him in love and say, what you are doing to me is not good. How can we fix this? You know, try to find out, identify the problem that is hurting you as brothers, then genuinely look for solutions to those problems and give everybody their space and give people an opportunity to be creative and innovative, and all this rubbish will stop, and then you will see the country will move forward. Then give our young people and our people in the diaspora who are very innovative, who are very creative, all of them out there in the diaspora. You know, if we are still going to be debating the issue of double nationalities, just give them residence cards to be coming home, provide land for them, provide opportunities for them, let them come and invest and create the industries. We have to industrialize. Our economy is very, very primitive. We have to industrialize. The problem that we have in Cameroon, we just need to agree that we are brothers, change the form of government to what is suitable for everybody, give youths their space, give them the skills training, change the education, give them the skills training, so that in 2 years we can begin to generate 2 million jobs for all of them, and they'll be able to create their own wealth and put money in their pockets. I tell you, when we begin to look after the youth and look after those in the diaspora, most of the problems we have in Cameroon will disappear. So it is not a foreigner that will solve that for us. If we wanted to, we would have no problems. It's just because we are not thinking. So the new government will come up with a mindset and solve the problems. If there are some questions for which we have no answers, or if we need help in technology one way or the other, we will ask for help from abroad. But speaking truth does not call for a foreigner.
Right, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, educationist, entrepreneur, politician. Thank you so much for joining us today. That's it for today's edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. Do stay with us if you can.